Cowboys Nation, buckle up because the chess pieces are moving in Dallas, and what happened in the last 24 hours could completely reshape this roster before you even realize it. We've got a brand new weapon signed, a 3-time Pro Bowler somehow on the chopping block, an all-pro receiver going ghost at OTAs, and the biggest name in the pass rush market just fell right back into Jerry's lap after a blockbuster trade nobody saw coming. If you bleed silver and blue, you cannot afford to miss a single second of this. Smash that subscribe button right now and turn on those notifications, because we're bringing you daily Cowboys breakdowns you won't find anywhere else. Let's dive in. So here's where things get wild. The Dallas Cowboys just put pen to paper with a 6'2" receiver out of SMU named Romello Brinson. And if that school sounds familiar, it's because this is now the second undrafted free agent wide receiver from Southern Methodist University currently fighting for a spot on this 53-man roster. Yeah, you heard that right. Dallas is doubling down on the same program, and there's actually some method to this madness that we need to unpack. OTAs kicked off this morning, and before the first practice even wrapped, the receiver room went from interesting to absolutely fascinating. But let me give you the backstory on Brinson, because this isn't just some camp body they're throwing a jersey on to fill out practice squads. This kid has legitimate NFL bloodlines running through his veins. He's the cousin of Chad Ochocinco, the 6-time Pro Bowler who torched secondaries for over a decade in this league. Now, does that guarantee anything? Absolutely not. But it tells you the athletic genetics are there. And when you watch his tape, you start to see why Dallas brought him in. Brinson spent his first couple years buried on the depth chart at Miami, barely sniffing the field, barely getting targets, essentially invisible in one of the most loaded receiver rooms in college football. But then he made the move to SMU and everything changed. He broke out immediately, putting up career highs across the board with 43 catches, 638 yards, and 3 touchdowns in his final season. The dude is a certified field stretcher, a long strider who builds speed downfield and can create separation on vertical routes. That's exactly the kind of skill set that makes defensive coordinators lose sleep, and it's exactly what Dallas needs when you think about how this offense is built. They've got CD Lamb commanding attention on every single snap, and now George Pickens on the other side demanding double teams. If you can plug in a guy like Brinson who can take the top off a defense on play action or shot plays, suddenly you've got an offensive coordinator's dream. Now here's the catch, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Brinson's college career got cut short last season after just 6 games because of a knee injury, and that happened right when SMU was making their magical run to the college football playoff. The concerns are real when you dig into the scouting reports. His route running on intermediate stuff isn't polished. He doesn't win as many 50-50 balls as you'd expect from a guy his size. The menu of what he can do is limited compared to a true number 1 or even number 2 receiver. But here's what matters. Dallas now has 2 guys from the same school, Brinson and Jordan Hudson, going head-to-head in camp, and this is actually the 2nd straight year the Cowboys have done this exact strategy with players from the same program. That tells you the scouting department sees something repeatable, something in the way SMU develops receivers or the system they run that translates to what Mike McCarthy wants to do. The competition between these two is going to be absolutely fierce, and honestly, it might be one of the most underrated battles to watch when training camp rolls around in July. But let's shift gears, because while the receiver room is getting crowded, the pass rush situation just got a whole lot more interesting. And the name that's roaring back into the conversation is Max Crosby. You remember Crosby, right? The absolute monster edge rusher for the Las Vegas Raiders who's been linked to Dallas on and off all offseason long. Well, he just became the most realistic elite pass rush option on the entire market. And it happened because of a trade that sent shockwaves through the league. Myles Garrett, the superstar defensive end from Cleveland, got dealt to the Los Angeles Rams this week in a move that stunned everybody. And according to multiple reports, the Dallas Cowboys were one of the teams actively pursuing Garrett before he ended up in LA. They wanted him. They tried to get him, and they missed out. So now, with Garrett officially off the board, all eyes turn back to Crosby, and here's why this matters more than you might think. The Raiders had already agreed earlier this offseason to trade Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 first-round picks. That deal was done. It was agreed upon, and then it fell apart after Crosby reportedly failed a physical in Baltimore, and the Ravens backed out. That left Crosby in this awkward, uncomfortable position of heading back to Vegas for another season, with a team that had literally just tried to ship him out of town. Now, publicly, everyone's saying the right things. Crosby's talked about being committed to the Raiders. The front office says they're moving forward together, but here's the reality, and this is what Cowboys fans need to understand. The fundamental reasons that made Crosby a legitimate trade candidate 2 months ago still exist right now. Nothing has changed. He's 28 years old, still in his prime, coming off a 10-sack season with elite pass rush grades across every metric you can measure. He's exactly the kind of war daddy that this Dallas defense is missing, and 3-time Super Bowl champion Mark Schlereth said exactly that. This week, despite everything the Cowboys have added this offseason, despite bringing in pieces and shuffling the roster, Schlereth looked at this defense and said they still don't have that dominant force off the edge that strikes fear into quarterbacks. And he's right. The Cowboys added Rashawn Gary in the offseason, and Gary is a solid player, don't get me wrong. But is he the guy that offenses have to game plan around? Is he the guy that changes the entire structure of how you protect the quarterback? Not yet. Maybe he gets there, but right now, the need is real and it's documented. So the question becomes, does Dallas have the guts to make the move? Because let's be honest about the complications here. The Raiders are saying publicly they want to keep Crosby. Executives around the league think the window to trade him might have already closed, especially after he reaffirmed his commitment to Las Vegas. And the asking price before was 2 first-round picks. That number isn't going down just because a previous deal fell through. It might actually go up. So yeah, maybe this never happens. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe Jerry Jones and the front office decide they're comfortable with what they have and they don't want to mortgage future draft capital for a player who's going to cost a fortune both in trade compensation and contract extension. But Cowboys Nation, I'm telling you, this conversation is not going away. As long as Crosby is theoretically available and this pass rush still has question marks, his name is going to be attached to Dallas, and the speculation is only going to grow louder as we get closer to September. Now let's talk about something that genuinely shocked me when I saw it floated over the weekend. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around whether this is real speculation or just off-season clickbait. Blogging the Boys, a very credible Cowboys outlet, put out a piece suggesting that Kevontae Turpin could be a shocking cut candidate this summer. Let me repeat that. Kevontae Turpin, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, led the entire league in total returns and return yardage last season. That Kevontae Turpin. And someone is seriously suggesting the Cowboys might cut him before the season starts. When I first read it, I had to go back and read it again because I genuinely thought I misunderstood. But let me walk through the logic here, because as wild as it sounds, there is an actual argument being made. The Cowboys are sitting at roughly $7 million under the salary cap right now, which is not a ton of breathing room, and cutting Turpin would free up $3.4 million in cap space. That's real money. On top of that, the receiver room is legitimately crowded. You've got CeeDee Lamb locked in as the number 1, George Pickens is the number 2, Ryan Flournoy is in the mix, and then you've got a logjam of young guys and veterans all competing for those final spots. Turpin isn't a traditional polished wide receiver. He's a return specialist first who gives you explosive juice on offense occasionally, but he's not the guy you're drawing up elaborate route concepts for in the red zone. The argument is that Jalen Tolbert could take over return duties, especially with the new kickoff rules changing the dynamics of special teams. Tolbert has the speed. He's a receiver who could use more touches. And if guys like Jonathan Mingo or Anthony Smith can fill the depth role that Turpin currently occupies at receiver, then maybe, just maybe, the math starts to make sense. But here's where I completely disagree, and here's where I think this logic falls apart. The Cowboys currently have no clear backup plan at punt returner, and that is a completely different animal than kickoff returns. Punt returning requires insane hand-eye coordination, split-second decision-making, and the guts to catch a ball while 3 guys are sprinting at you full speed.